Hi, I'm Rocket, and welcome to Whiteboarding with Rocket. In today's session, I'm going to walk you through the physical configuration of a minimum viable solution set. This is a very versatile solution. It is both entry level and can be built upon to become very sophisticated. This will cover things like whiteboarding live during a virtual event, capturing whiteboards, and recording whiteboard videos like this one. Let's get started. First things first, you need a whiteboard. A lot of considerations in this. And I'm going to stop right here and say, look, if you don't have the physical space to install a whiteboard or buy a whiteboard that is mobile and put it in place, this isn't for you. You need to have the physical space to do this configuration. If you don't have the physical space, we will have a digital-only minimum viable recommendation. So, coming back to this, where you put your whiteboard, the distance in which your whiteboard is from the camera, your lighting, all those things become part of the equation. So, you can get a mounted whiteboard like this one, or you can get a whiteboard that is mobile on a stand, okay? There's lots of different options when it comes to whiteboards. Next is an iPad. Now, this iPad can be something from 7th generation on. Now, this is early 2021, so if you're watching this later, it might be you required a later iPad, but I've been using a 7th generation iPad. It's 128 gig, and it has worked really well. There are times when things slow down. It doesn't have cellular. There's times when I wish I had something a little bit more powerful, but those are rare. So when I've created whiteboard videos using iMovie or some of the more interesting movie production things for iPads, it's been fine. It's worked really well. It's been more than fine, actually. It's actually been pretty, I get 80% of all the things I need out of it. So that's your camera as well as your editor. Now there's other editing options I'll talk about here in a minute, but think of that as the device that's going to record you or stream you over a live event. And if you've recorded something, you go and you launch an app and you can edit your video so you can produce it and share it. You'll also need a way to mount this iPad because you're going to want this in a stable location. And you've got two options here. You've got a mobile option, which is a tripod based. And so you get your tripod and you put a holder on it and you put the iPad in the holder. And then if you need to, you can move that out of the way. Now that will take up space in your location. So there are other alternatives, such as a clamp with an arm. So the Manfrotto Clamp is the solution that I recommend because it's very stable and it's very versatile. And you clamp that to either a table or a shelf, and then you put your holder, your iPad holder on it, and then you put your iPad in there. Next, you'll need a microphone. Now, if you have a Bluetooth microphone, a headset, I recommend straight away start there. Get it going, see how it sounds. It could be good enough. I also recommend focusing a little on the sound because the better the sound, the better the video. There's a rule of thumb that says 80% of a video is audio. And you could have a really great video and have poor quality audio and it become an issue. And if you have a okay video but really great audio, it can enliven that video a lot. So I really recommend thinking about this. There's other environmental things you need to worry about when it comes to audio, such as if you've got an echoey room, how do you dampen the sound? If you've got a lot of background noise, what are some options there? And a lot of the Bluetooth solutions that exist today have really good noise cancellation and can really take care of that background audio. Next, your camera app. So I'm going to pause here before I go to camera, and I'm going to say that the microphone, the iPad, the holder, the mounting, and the whiteboard, that covers things like capturing a whiteboard, doing whiteboard in a video conference. Everything else after this is all around recording a whiteboard video. So the next thing is your camera. the camera app or the video app, recording app, there's two options. One, you go with a native video. So you go launch camera, go to video, hit record, or you buy a third-party app that does the same thing. Now, I've done both, and I ended up with the third-party app because I was looking for a little bit more control over how it was recording and what was happening with it. So I started with the camera when I first started this, and it did okay. It was good enough, and I was able to produce some videos very quickly and get them out there. But then I was like, yeah, I need a little bit more control around zoom, and I need to be able to do things like see the camera, see what it's seeing without seeing the, visually. And I ended up with this solution called Filmic Pro. Filmic Pro's got lots of like frame rates, color correction, audio options. It's very, very powerful. It's about $30, so it's not super expensive. The other side of the equation is if I put the iPad up and I have the screen facing me so that I can see what I'm about to record, it creates a glare on my whiteboard. So I can't use it. So I have to flip the iPad so the screen points away from me and I can't see what's going on. Well, the Filmic remote app allows me to connect my iPhone to the iPad, and I can see what the iPad is seeing. I can make any adjustments. I can even hit record from there remotely. Pretty sweet little setup. And that is only $9 for the remote. So around $40, $30 to $40, you're in and you've got a really nice solution. There's a lot of options. So I'd start with the camera, get a feel for that, see where there's constraints, see where you want to improve quality, and then make some choices. And I'll talk to what those choices might look like here in a second. Lastly, in this equation is your video editing solution. iOS and Mac OS come with iMovie. And iMovie is a pretty fully featured solution. And I have to admit that I don't know the equivalent on the Windows platform. I used to be Movie Maker. And I don't know if that's still out there or if there's other solutions. So what I tend to do is if you've got a Windows machine and you want to use the iPad and you'd use something like WorkDocs to take the recording, upload to WorkDocs, and bring it over your computer, I recommend something like Camtasia. So it's TechSmith product. It is something I believe is available in our IT store, and it's about $300, and it runs both on Mac and Windows. And it's very powerful because it not only does video production like this, it'll do recording of your desktop. So if you wanted to do a demo or a walkthrough of something that you're doing on your desktop and you want to record that, it's very, very good at that. And then it puts together and you can have lines and arrows and boxes. It's a great product. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there are higher end video editing solutions out there, and those are definitely worth it if you need them. So I end up using something called Davinci Resolve as my solution from Blackmagic, but it's because I do all sorts of crazy things on the back end of this. But when I first started this, I used iMovie and I was able to produce really decent videos. And then over time, I reached for the more sophisticated solutions. So again, recommendations start here. Reach for the ones that when you get to, you'll know when you need them. So let's talk through those two configurations. I'll call this basic and I'll call this one step up. And I'll talk through why you would want to do one or the other. So your basic, like, look, you get an iPad. If you have an iPad right now, and it may be an older iPad or whatever, even a newer one, try it out. See if it works. Get a mount for it, put it somewhere, get a whiteboard, get your Bluetooth headset. Those are really inexpensive. And then use your camera app and iMovie and see what happens and produce something. Don't pause, just get going. And at that point, you'll get a feel for what gaps exist. Is your sound quality low? Do you need better lighting? Do you need more options when it comes to recording? Then you could look at things like wireless lavalier mic. So I talked about a Bluetooth headset, but there are wireless lavalier mics that plug into your iPad that give really, really high quality audio. And that might be an option. I use something called the Rode Wireless Go 2 solution. There's also one from Sennheiser. Those are about $300, to purchase, to invest in. And there's reasons to go one way or the other, and they're both fantastic solutions. Then you could look to use something like the Film IC Pro, and then of course using something like Camtasia to do video editing and production. So that's the one step up. You don't have to use all of these, by the way. So you don't have to go like from here all the way to here. You could do this and say, well, I'm fine with camera and iMovie, but I need better audio. So I'll get me a wireless lav mic, and that'll take care of it. Let's talk about what that investment range looks like across the board. So I didn't put it on here, but a whiteboard is anywhere from $100 to $350, depending on the size and the style and all that kind of fun business. iPad 7th generation or later, you can get a 7th or 8th generation with 128 gig used for about $350. That's not too bad. That's a decent. Then of course you go all the way to the new iPad Pros and the 12-inch ones that are $1,500 and have cellular and all that kind of stuff. Now, if you're going to do that, make sure you're using it for versatility. It's not just a recording device. Mounting, it's about $100. You can get a nice stable tripod for less than $100. And then if you wanted to do the arm, the clamp and the arm is about $300. So that's your range there for your mount. Microphones, you can get an AirPods, not the Pro ones, but regular AirPods for about $100. You can go all the way up to $300 for these wireless lav mics. And then finally, your camera next, your camera software, between $0 and $30-ish for that solution. And then video editing software is free, like iMovie, or up to $300, like the Camtasia. And again, you can go beyond any of these. So your investments into the next beyond MVP can go higher and higher depending on what you need and what your goals are. One of the big things I did as I went through this process over the last year is anytime I made an investment, I made sure I was doing incremental investment and I wasn't just wholesale replacing things. And that really helped me build up a solution that is very versatile and I can do lots of different configurations with. I look back on my original days with the iPad and the camera and I go, wow, it was okay. And I've come a long ways. And I have actually gone back and started using the iPad alone just to make sure that this MVP recommendation works. And it does. It actually is a very viable and powerful solution. With that, I am Rocket, and this has been another Whiteboarding with Rocket.